Good morning, everyone. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. My wife told me to speak up so they can hear you. So if you can't hear me, do me a favor. Give me the foul sign in basketball. You know what the foul sign in basketball is? Okay. Anyway, good morning, all you members, and all you members out there in virtual land too. I know we have some people online. Glad to see what a turnout. And let me tell you guys, spring has sprung. We saw it Monday. It was amazing. In fact, it's my best time of the year. Take a deep breath and you can see and smell nature. It's just incredible. So if you haven't gotten out and experienced it, don't wait too long because soon it'll be hot out there. The mosquitoes will be biting. So right now is a good time to get out there. All right, April, thank you, Volunteer Appreciation Month, and thank you to all the volunteers that have made all these things possible. And that's most of you out here. So give yourselves a big hand right now. Okay, Patty, I'm gonna let you take over.
Okay. Okay. I need to make a microphone, just give me the clicker. Okay. All right, so, like I said, the state gave us some templates, on, different things that we can, just plug in numbers and plug in photos and post them, so these numbers will be coming up sometime during the month on the Facebook page, but, this is, our 2025 number. Just last year, we contributed more than 14,000 hours of service. And to date, 382,000 something hours to date since our chapter came to be. And then our service hours, the state gives us a dollar value of $23 an hour for any service that we do. So that's the number since the chapter's inception, over $8 million.
Wow.
Worth of schools. And as far as impact, just last year, we reached over 19,000 youth and adults and more than 300,000 since, well, not since we began in 2001, but they only started recording impact data in 2017. So that's as far back as we had that number. And then advanced training, in last year, we had over 2,000 hours of advanced training and over 42,000 to date. And I want to thank Dave for, I picked his brain all day trying to get all this down, and he was able to get all those numbers for me. So thanks to Dave.
Thank you, Patty. Moving right along. Initial certification, Barbara.
Okay, we have one initial certification, and this is for Larry Kurtner. Come on up, Larry. Graduated in the last 12 class, and everywhere I volunteer, I see Larry there. I guess I saw him well. Congratulations. There's. Hold on.
All right, Larry.
Hold on. Stand right here.
And wait until it's got places.
Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and sorry, smiling yet?
What's that?
He does the newspaper and the newsletters. All right.
Larry was out there Monday to help us on the beach street. Only was we went to 16th Street and we were at the jetty. So FYI, we come out there to help us on Beach Street, and we're not at the jetty, we're at 16th Street and vice versa. Of course, this time of year, we might be at the bird sanctuary too, so. Anyway, moving right along. Good luck, John.
You may as well just sit up there,
You've
John.
been there a while.
Do what?
May as well just stay up there.
No, it's being weird.
you gotta be on this, slide here. For it to- And by the way, there's something going on with the internet in the entire building because they're telling me it's flickering in and off from their desktop, so.
Oh, no.
We'll see. And they were just right here last week.
Yeah.
John, you're on. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, John.
Last year, we had 91 recertifications. In the month of March, we had 24 recertifications. We now have 29 for the year. We're ahead of last year's pace, but we've used up our AT day. So that's a big volunteering opportunity. I'd like to suggest you guys to charge it out and do migration, celebration, and nature day. Get those hours in. That said, it's not necessary that you recertify to be a beneficial and contributing member of the chapter. We'd like you to recertify. We definitely like you to be active in the chapter. So if you have a problem putting in your hours and getting your AP time, one, call and ask, we might be able to find an avenue to help you go down. But in any event, stay active with the group. Okay, large number of people. Head various, everybody come on down for a big picture. See me after the program to get your pin if you happen to be here and haven't been to you yet. So Ed Barrios, James Calvert, Marty Carnell, Vicky Rufilo, Dave Dungan, Annalise Glover, Angela Griffin, Paula Hanson, Melanie Hollinshead, Phil Huxford, Chris Kniper, Anna Lumen, Herb Meyer, Donna Rich, Christine Rivers, Mary Schwartz, Betty and David Squares, Andy Smith, Betty Taylor, Herbert Taylor, Virginia Tippett, Crystal Tobolov, and Janet Townsend. I also have pins for people that graduated. They're recertified in 2025. And if anybody's short a pin or a recognition, we don't want you to feel left out. See me and we'll see if we can make it right. Everybody come down for a picture. We appreciate it.
Everybody.
Everybody stand up. We'll take it. Maybe.
Should we move the banner maybe like there? I'm sorry. Here. Yeah. I didn't get my certification yet. So I just think, yeah. So you just stand by my buddy. I think we improved.
Short. Up front.
Sorority.
Don't tell me, everybody's.
No, don't.
Great job. Well, that wasn't fast enough. Okay, everybody smile. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and okay.
Don't move.
There we go.
That makes me like me. Okay, just tell me what you want, Dave.
That's a loaded question.
Right?
Just put your hair in, Mark. Goodness.
I look like a bag lady, but hey.
Oh, wait, I have this on the wrong stick. What's going on here? Okay. It was doing something weird. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, thanks.
If you didn't get your pin, give me the break.
Hey, John. Congratulations, to all those that we just took a photo with. John, do you have any milestones you want to update?
No, certainly.
Okay. Moving right along here. Here's a little bit of our intake data for this month. BS hours, 1,568. Advanced training, 196. Intake data for adults, 971. Youth, 7,281. That must be a lot of the projects, right?
Spring break, too.
Again,
And spring break.
and that's right. Total of 8,252. First 22. Okay, now we're ready for the presentation. My wife, this is her new hero. So I usually do the introduction speakers, but guess what? I'm gonna let Luann do it this time. So it's all yours, darling.
All right. I just want y'all to be patient with Jimmy. When you tell him, hey, I know a speaker, I got a speaker, I want you to call him. Well, I have been telling him over a year about Jace. I follow his Facebook page. So anyway, his name is Jace Tunnell. He's Director of Community Engagement at the Harte Research Institute at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. He is the founder of Nerdle Patrol, a citizen science project that tracks plastic pellet pollution worldwide to raise awareness and inform policy. Jace also directs and produces Beachcombing, a video series that highlights unusual items washing up on the Gulf Coast beaches and the stories they tell about marine life and ocean processes. I have learned so much from him. His outreach extends through a weekly beachcombing newspaper column in the Texas publications, a weekly NPR radio segment, and televised episodes aired on PBS KEDT. His conservation work focuses on engaging the public in marine science, increasing awareness of plastic pollution, and protecting coastal resources. Jace earned his master's degree in marine biology from Texas A&M University-Corpus Christi in 2001. Thank you. And here's Jace.
Okay, well, I appreciate the introduction there.
Thank you.
Normally, there's two different types of presentations I give. One is the Nerdle Patrol, and then the other is the beachcombing. So I always enjoy giving the beachcombing, especially for folks that like going to the beach and, you know, finding treasures. And so that I kept getting all these requests for people to tell me, oh, what's the craziest thing you found? And so that's why I put this presentation together, was to tell you some of the odd stuff that kind of washes up. Before we get into that, though, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Beachcombing program and where you can find more information. And then I'll get into the weird stuff washing up. Let's see how I do this here. Okay, so Beachcombing, and you know, some of this was already mentioned, but we have weekly episodes that come out every Monday. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, the internet bumped off and then came back on. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
Okay, and I put my cell number in the chat so that if for some reason we get kicked off or whatever, I'll just wait until y'all are back on and to continue. So no problem.
Okay,
there.
thank you.
Yeah. So we have weekly, I'll tell you a little bit about the beachcombing program, and then I'll get into the weird stuff washing up. But the beachcombing, we have weekly videos that come out every Monday. And that's on YouTube, PBS, and on our social media like Facebook and Instagram. And they can be natural items that are washing up. We'll go into detail about some of the life history, what they feed on, where you can find them. And then we also do not natural stuff. So a lot of the stuff, you know, we find a bunch of creepy dolls washing up, like this jar of olives that you see me digging my hand in right here. I was eating one of those. It was rolling around in the ocean, and I opened it up and ate one. I suggest do not do that. I didn't feel too good for about 24 hours afterwards, but there's a lot of stuff like that that we're doing to be entertaining, but then also talk about ocean currents, at the same time. So y'all can look out for that type of stuff. On Fridays, we do a post on Instagram and Facebook, and we label everything. And lots of times we'll put stories to it if there's stories. But everything is what is washing up that week. And, if we have something washing up here in Corpus Christi, you can almost guarantee it's washing up in Galveston or South Padre. The way the ocean currents work here, there might be a few days delay, but what we got washing up here is washing up all over the place. And then I also do travel. Like a couple weeks ago, I was up in Galveston and Surfside. Sometimes I go down to South Padre. So I do surveys up and down the coast of Texas. But here's a kind of an example of what you might see on a Friday. I have just the names of stuff here, but normally there's a little bit more information as well. And then, of course, we mentioned the PBS and the NPR segments. The NPR segments and the PBS, they're just in the KEDT area. So that goes from the Valley up to Victoria. We're currently working with the NPR and PBS on expanding out to be Texas-wide. So that might be something you can look forward to in the near future. And then, of course, we're in about 15 different newspapers with a weekly article that dives into one item that's washing up that week. And they're usually 350 words. And we put 3 high-resolution photos with it so you can visually see what we're talking about. And then finally, the stuff I'm going to talk to you about, and y'all probably know this if y'all spend any time at the beach, but it's not a lot of stuff you find at the beach isn't from people leaving it there, especially when you talk about marine debris, like the man-made stuff. A lot of it is coming from all over the world because we have this current called the loop current that comes up from the Caribbean, a warm water current. It goes up into the Gulf, loops down and gets into the Gulf Stream and goes up the east coast of Florida. But when that loop comes up and goes back down, there's eddies that swirl off of it, and anything in that current can be caught up in that eddy and pushed up towards the Texas coast. So I've been part of marine debris studies about a decade ago where we looked at debris washing up on our shorelines in Texas. And we had partners in other states around the Gulf that were doing the same methodology at the same time. And it turns out we have 10 times the amount of marine debris washing up on our shorelines than any other state in the Gulf. And it has to do with this loop current. So some of the stuff I tell you about, I'll tell you, the origin of them. Okay, so let's dive into it. I found over 60 messages in a bottle over the 8 years that I've been doing these weekly surveys. And some of them have some pretty interesting stories. Some of them come with money inside of them as well. But the one I'll tell you about here, at the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that clear bottle with a white note in it. That was thrown into the ocean by an 11-year-old girl that was going around the world with her family on a catamaran. When they got off the coast of Brazil, right across the equator, they threw this message in a bottle in the ocean. And I found it a year and a half later in Port Aransas. And there were 2 different pages in there. One was a color drawing, which you can see there up on the screen. It was of the world, where their boat was when they threw the bottle in, where they had seen whales and dolphins and things like that. And then the other page was all in French, and it was a whole story about their travels or where they had been over the year it took them to do this travel. And so I ended up getting it translated because since it was all in French, and then I got their address off of there and I wrote them a letter. And about a month later, they wrote me back, and they live off a small island off the coast of France. And they put in their maps of where they had been, photos of their family and, the island they live on. Just real cool. But I was telling my wife about all this stuff, and she was like, there's no way they're coming to Corpus Christi. We're going to France. I was like, okay, that sounds good to me, I still haven't been, which that's my fault. I got to get on that. Okay, we do find a lot of scientific equipment out there. Some of them actually have rewards for them. So there's a picture of me with something that looks like a PVC tube there in the middle on the bottom, and it's got this orange reward sticker on it. That's from a group out of Woods Hole. It's called Woods Hole Group, and it's out of Richmond, Texas. But they give $40 for every time you find this drifter. And it looks like a PVC that will have a long rope on it and a parachute that's in the water to help it catch the ocean currents. And so they need this bag to be able to get the data off of it. So they pay $40 each. And I found about 10 of these. Now, all the money I get, I always donate to the Amos Rehabilitation Keep, which is a rehab for sea turtles and birds there in Port Aransas. So I don't keep any of that myself. But then there's a spotter buoy that's right above that image. It's a yellow buoy that's pretty small, but these things cost $6,600 each. And so, you know, you and I could buy these things. You can connect it to your phone, and it's all by, the data is all by satellite. So it will tell you where the location is. It'll tell you what the water temperature is, what the wave height is, you know, how fast it's moving. It actually has a little bulb on it that will tell you the wind speed. But if there's an email on there and it says, if you find it, email us and, you know, let us know where it's at. And so I did. I emailed them and said, hey, you know, I found this on the beach. And they said, I know it's been at your house for 4 days. I guess because it's all like satellite image, you know, so they knew exactly where it was. But since it was $6,600, I thought this is payday here. They're going to be able to, you know, give a big reward. So they did. They sent me a big box to be able to put this buoy inside of, but there was another box inside of that. And so that small box that was inside of there, I opened it up and lifted it out. And you know what was in there? It was a keychain that looked just like the spotter buoy. Yeah. So anyway, I haven't retired yet. Still working. But so the last one I'll talk about on this page here is on the bottom left-hand corner. You see me holding up. It looks like a little battery. That's actually a radio sign that goes to National Weather Service weather balloon. And these balloons, there's 180 to 200 of them that go up every single day around the U.S. And like here in Corpus Christi at our airport, they release 2 of these every single day, in the morning and in the afternoon. These things start out as a latex balloon that's about 6 foot in size. And it goes way up in the atmosphere. And once it gets up to where, right before it pops, the thing is about 20 foot wide. And then it pops, and then there's an orange. You can see that orange in the background. That's the parachute, and it has strings that go to the radio sign, and all the way down it just pings data to the National Weather Service. But lots of times we will find these with sea turtle bites, you know, in the parachute, in the balloon. I've actually found them. This radio sign in my hand there is made out of plastic, but recently they started making them just out of styrofoam, and there's been turtle bites out of those. So I, you know, think there's got to be a better way to be able to collect data out there. But apparently this is the best way, they say, to get the information they need for atmospheric information. But, you know, we got a long way to go to be able to change stuff like that at the federal government level. Okay. Some of the stuff you've probably seen out there that we have washing up right now are these man-o-wars. So these are all things that sting on here. And I tell you, I've been stung or bitten or poked by about everything in the ocean so far. These man-o-wars, I get stung multiple times a year. These, if you looked at a pain scale from 1 to 10, they're probably a 9. I mean, they really hurt. Some people actually got to go to the hospital depending on where they're stung out and how bad. But there's something that can sting even worse than a man-o-war, and it's called a blue dragon. And about 3 weeks ago, we had quite a few of these washing up. I picked up about 20 of these. They feed, they're small though. So I have it blown up on the screen here, but if you find them washed up, you know, in the water, they're only 1.2 inches in size. That's like max, that's an adult. When they wash up, they're about half that size. They're about a half an inch in size because they curl up and they don't look anything like what they look like, you know, once you put them in the water. And birds eat them up. And so, you got to know what you're looking for basically when you go out there. But about 3 weeks ago, we had a bunch of them. But the reason they sting is they eat man-o-war tentacles, and they're able to collect the nematocysts, which are the stinging cells, off of the tentacles, and they store them in their appendages. So those appendages there that look like feathers, that's where they store them. And so if you step on it or you pick it up and squeeze it, you have to agitate it. But if you squeeze it or something like that, and it releases all those stinging cells at one time, it's supposed to sting a lot worse than the man-o-war, which is scary to me. I've not yet been stung by those, although I've picked a lot of those blue dragons up, and I'm just very careful and gentle with them. But I suggest don't do that unless you know what your tolerance of pain is. The spaghetti monster is in the middle there, and it looks like an eyeball. These things are about 2 inches in size when they wash up. But if you're able to pick them up and put them in the water, they can extend out to about 3 foot in size. They are a siphonophore. So that's what a man-o-war is, a siphonophore. It's not a true jellyfish. It's a bunch of polyps living together as one animal. And the bulb at the top that looks like an eyeball, that's its gas bulb. And that's what allows it to stay at the surface of the ocean. And then those are tentacles and that are hanging out down below it. But we do have videos on all of these organisms if y'all would like to go check those out. And because the spaghetti monsters, once you put them in water, they start pulsing to move through the water. It's just really cool looking. And then, of course, the fireworm, we find a lot of those. This particular species, there's over 20 species of fireworms. This one right here is the one that you'll find washed up on items that have gooseneck barnacles on it. And so it could be logs, it could be big, anything that's been in the ocean for a long time and has these certain species of barnacles, these will be on there. Because I've found these fireworms where they're only the size of your fingernail, and then I found them to where they're 12 inches long. I mean, huge. But the big thing about these is I haven't really felt a sting, and I've rubbed them all over my hand. But those bristles they have on the back, they stick all into your fingers, and so you don't want to rub your eyes or anything afterwards. But they look very similar to the fireworms that are called bearded dragons, and those are the ones that eat corals. And so those are the ones that sting really bad, but they have a reddish look to them. They're real, like bright red. So these, you can tell the difference between these and those. Okay, a lot of people want to know, it's like, man, where do we go to find seashells? And I'm going to have a map at the end of this presentation that will show you along the Texas coast where some of the best shelling spots are and best places to go really just to find interesting items. But the best time to go that I have found is after storms. So these northerns that come through, we'll get waves up to the sand dunes, and then the north wind starts and it pushes the water out, uncovers a lot of nice looking shells, especially black ones. Those black shells are the ones that have been under the sand for a long time and in the sediment and have started doing chemical changes to them because of the anoxic conditions, the no oxygenated area. That's why they turn black. There's certain areas like this photo on the right-hand side, that's a normal day. That's called big shell down on the Padre Island National Seashore. And it's about 3 foot thick of just huge shells that you have to drive over to be able to get all the way down to Mansfield Pass. Now this changes over time. I remember back in the late 80s, it was up at the mile marker 25 to 27 when we'd be driving over it. Now it's down at the mile marker 55. So it's moved about 20, 30 miles south. And it just changes. So this photo was taken probably 6 weeks ago. It could have even changed from then. But it was actually in that spot. I know for at least 2 months I was going down there to that area. So these are just some different. Actually, let me talk to you about this one snail that has a bubble raft on it. These are called storm snails. They're also called violet snails or purple sea snails. This one is called the common purple sea snail, and they make this bubble raft so that they can float at the surface, and they feed on man-o-wars, blue buttons, and by-the-wind sailors. We had handfuls of these washing in about 3 weeks ago. I mean, handfuls of them. And I mean, people were posting it up at Bolivar, they were posting at South Padre, and I was finding, lots of them around Port Aransas area. So they were all up and down the Texas coast. When you pick them up, they ink on you, like a purple ink. And that ink color comes from eating the man-o-wars. They doesn't sting, or at least it didn't sting me, and I haven't seen any information on the ink actually stinging, but it's a defense mechanism. Okay, let's go to, we find a lot of fishing gear. Some of this, the one I'm going to talk to you, some is bad. Well, actually, any fishing gear that's out there that's not being actively fished is bad news. We call that ghost fishing. So even if a crab trap gets out, normally we find those in the bay, but depending on currents, weather, all that, they could be drug out the passes, and then I find them pretty often up on the beach, which, nobody's putting these out in the Gulf out there. So to be able to be out there, that's not normal. And so we call that ghost fishing. Even though it's not actively being fished, crabs are still getting in there, and fish and other things like that. On the top left-hand corner, you see there's a gill net. Now those are illegal to use in the U.S., and you can see that's a sea turtle. It's a loggerhead sea turtle trapped in there. And I don't find this type of thing that often. Probably every other year I'll find a sea turtle trapped in gill nets. But I do find a lot of gill nets washed up, surprisingly. And then the FAD, a fish aggregating device. We actually just had I have a video coming out here in the next couple of weeks on this thing. But we found these, most of these are coming from West Africa. They're basically a tabletop size piece of plastic that has nets and ropes coming off of it. And you can imagine if you're a fish out in the middle of the Atlantic or in the Caribbean or Gulf, whatever, you're going to try to hide behind something. So this thing really does aggregate small fish all around it. And what eats small fish? Big fish. And so the tuna industry uses these because tuna will circle around this tabletop waiting to get their next meal from these small fish that are under it. And it has a beacon attached to it that tells the fishermen where it's located at. And so, these aren't small, boats that are using these things. These are 150-foot vessels that have a mile-long net that they go and they circle around the whole area and they scoop everything up that's in there. Their target might be tuna, but there's a lot of bycatch. And so there are groups in Florida that are trying to get these things banned from being used. Now, in the middle there, you can see that's a kind of a homemade one. It has a metal frame around it. It has black jugs, like milk jugs that are used for flotation, and then a net that goes to keep all the jugs together. We even find them out of bamboo. It looks like something out of like Gilligan's Island or something. Like it looks like a bamboo raft, but they'll have nets and ropes hanging off of them. We get sargassum. Some people say we get it bad. Sometimes we get it good. I'm doing a snow angel here, although since we don't have snow in Texas, I just say we're doing sargassum angel. Now, I wouldn't suggest doing this. I was pretty itchy for about 24 hours after this. But there's a lot of things that live in here, a lot of cool animals, and they're camouflaged the same. They look exactly like the sargassum. And, peak sargassum is April to August is when we would normally get it coming in large quantities. I mean, it comes in all year long, but that's kind of the big season for it. And we actually had quite a bit of it washing up last week, but then we had a cold front come through. And I mean, within 24 hours, it's like, okay, no more sargassum, that north wind, pushing it back offshore. But we should start getting onshore winds again this week, which might push some back up again. And, it's pretty bad right now in Florida and in like around the Cancun area in Mexico. So it could be a bad year. The last real bad year we got when it was waist to chest deep on the beach was around 2013 to 2014 timeframe. I don't remember exactly, but I mean, it can really get bad. But this stuff is good for the beach. If in small quantities, it helps to catch sand. It builds the beach out. Once it dries up, the wind pushes it back up into the dunes for the vegetation, like a fertilizer. And then you get all these cool critters that birds and stuff are feeding on right at the high tide line. But yeah, sargassum fish, nudibranchs, crabs, shrimp, all kinds of stuff. So I always tell people, if you want an adventure, take a bucket down to the beach when this stuff is washing in, pick it up when it's fresh coming in, and shake it out in your bucket. You'd be, all this stuff right here would be falling out, including pipefish and seahorses. I mean, an amazing amount of life lives in this thing, which shows the importance of it. This stuff is a habitat whenever it's out in the ocean. It's like a rainforest, floating around out there. Sea turtles are another animal that really needs this sargassum out there to survive. We find some historical stuff. On the right-hand side, we have rubber bales that wash in. Y'all probably found some of those up around Galveston or Bolivar, maybe Sargent Beach or something. We have a number of them on the National Seashore right now and around on Matagorda Island. These were from World War II. The U.S. sunk a German ship off the coast of Brazil back in World War II, and it was called the Rio Grande. The thing was transporting rubber from Brazil over to Germany, and they used it for tires, gaskets, things like that. Well, the U.S. They actually sunk quite a few of these rubber bale transporters, so there could be from different ones. But the one that there's a group in Florida that traced a lot of these back to that Rio Grande boat, but they think that ship is now breaking apart. And these things are floating up and then just being distributed all over the Gulf. So pretty interesting there. You can type that in. We've got a number of different videos on these things where we're cutting into them and stuff. Another one is aluminum floats. And actually a couple of weeks ago, I found 2 of these. But these aluminum floats, most of these are called Hercules floats. And they have a Hercules tower, a lighthouse that's embossed on it. They were made in Spain from 1920 to 1950s. And so I found about 15 of these over the years. And my neighbor came up to me and was like, because I'm not allowed to bring anything inside the house anymore. So I have like this pile of debris out front. But my neighbor saw these things and he was like, hey man, can I have one of those? I was like, yeah, go for it. Well, he comes over the next day and he was like, hey man, this thing is worth $300 on eBay. And I was like, give that back. Now, I let him keep it, but I mean, some of this stuff, if you find the right buyer, these things are actually worth some money. So I know, and I've given this presentation before to like high schoolers and stuff, and they were asking for my address. I think they were wanting to come over. And okay, the sea pigs. This is another one. I have found about 40 of these sea pigs over the last 5 months. And they're finding them in Florida. They're finding them in South Padre. They're finding them on Bolivar. I mean, they're finding them all over the place. So where are they coming from? Well, I put a video together about all the different theories that are out there. And so if y'all are interested in finding more information on that, y'all go check that out because I know I'm kind of running short on time. But these sea pigs are piggy banks, and they're made out of plastic. There is no way to get the money out, so you have to cut them open. So a lot of them have cuts on them. But y'all go check out that video because it's pretty interesting, all these that I'm finding. Last week I found 2 of them. So I mean, I find them almost every week. I find another sea pig washing up. We find witch bottles. I found about 10 of these. People will do a seance. They'll put things from around their house in there. Then they put a spell in there, and it could be for good luck or for bad luck. And then they throw it in the ocean. Now, I'm definitely not allowed to bring these in the house. So I bring them up to my work to mess with my coworkers on them. Here's the deal. I've never opened one of these, though, because, I mean, I don't really believe in all that stuff, but why take a chance? You know what I mean? Now, one of the things that is so disturbing is that we find so many plastic items with these diamond shapes cut out of them, or even triangles. And a lot of these are sea turtle bites. There's also a few species of fish that make these, like triggerfish. but a lot of these are sea turtle bites, and you can tell the difference between the bites if you know what you're looking for. The triggerfish have a little tab at the top of the diamond shape. The sea turtles won't. And so, but they take a bite out of almost anything. It doesn't, and you know, a lot of stuff that's washing up is plastic because the plastic floats. And so they don't, it doesn't matter if it's an oil canister, if it's a sunscreen or a purse made out of pleather, you know, they basically taken bites out of all this stuff. And so I have this doll that I found that I take around when I do presentations at schools. And I show that to the students. Well, one is because most high schoolers are sleeping when I'm presenting. The other is once I bring that doll out, they're like, whoa, okay, then no more sleeping. This guy's creepy. But that doll has sea turtle bites all over it, just in the clothing. And so it's a real message, I think, to everyone is like, you know, all rivers lead to the ocean. So whether you live in Dallas, whether you live in Oklahoma, no matter where you live, everything is leading to the ocean, and there are real impacts. And so this slide right here shows that. So if there's something on the ground, pick it up and dispose of it properly. That's kind of the message I send out. Okay. I rescue a lot of animals out there, everything from sharks to birds, certain times of the year, hundreds of sea turtles. This last year, I actually came across an octopus that was, it was after a cold stunning event. The temperatures got down to freezing. The water temperature in the Gulf got down to a little below 50 degrees. And we found about 4 or 5 of these octopus washed up. And normally when I find these every year washed up around the jetty, like usually, you know, within a few miles of the jetty. And they're usually bright white. And so these, because all the color's gone once they die. This particular one was a reddish color, and it was moving around right in the swash zone. And this was probably 3 miles south of where the jetty would be, which is where they would live. So I got a bucket out and put them in the bucket, and I brought them home. And right when I walked in, my wife was like, what do you have in the bucket? So I was like, oh, I got us an octopus. And she was like, no way, man. Those things are smarter than we are. It's going to get out of there and strangle us at nighttime. Well, there's actually something to that, you know, because these animals are brilliant. They're really smart and such cool animal. But the thing about them is they need a lot of water circulation to keep them alive. So I actually took it into my backyard and I put it in a little clear tub to warm it up, because the sun, even though the air was like 55 degrees out, I was in my backyard that blocked the wind and the sun was out. And man, within about 5 minutes, that thing started really moving around. So I put it back in the bucket and took it across the street from where I live to the jetty. And I put it down into the right next to the rocks. And I had envisioned that I was going to get all this video footage of it moving around and everything. Well, right when it got to those rocks, it crawled right underneath them, and I never saw them again. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's the end of the video. But the cool thing is we were able to catch that thing. Now, this other animal is the alligator. This was a 5.5 footer. And just real quickly, this thing, my suggestion to you is never try to catch an alligator after my experience that I had. But I had never caught one. So what do you do when you want to do something you don't know what to do? You go to YouTube. So how to catch an alligator. There was a simple video of a 12-year-old kid that caught like a 3-footer. He just threw a towel over its head, put tape around its mouth, and then transported it somewhere else. And I thought, well, this is going to be easy, because this alligator had been in the same spot for a week. And you could tell it was thin. It should not have been there. And so I convinced somebody to go with me to be the tape lady. She's like, oh yeah, I'll tape the mouth up if you catch it. And I was like, oh, that sounds pretty good. We invited a student along who was going to be the camera person to get it all on video. So we got up to this thing, and I thought it was dead, because it was still in the same place it was the day before when we had seen it, and the week before. So I was like, oh, well, might be dead. So I went up to it, didn't move. I threw the towel over its head, just like the YouTube video. And the thing it didn't move. And I thought, well, this is going to be real easy. So I straddled the thing and I put my hands around its neck. And I don't know if you ever heard like a bear growl. It's like the deepest, it like vibrates your whole body. That's what it started doing. And it immediately started whipping its tail around, opened its mouth as wide as it could get, hissing and doing a death roll. And so it got about halfway around and it broke my watch off. And I was screaming the entire time. It went all the way around to where it was back to normal. So I put my hand down on its mouth and I was all, tape lady. So she taped it up. We wrangled that thing into the back of the UTV we were in that had a modified net to keep it there. And I look over at the guy that was supposed to be doing the video, and he's like, man, something's wrong with your camera. It's all frozen up. So anyway, it's sort of like a fish story now, you know, there's no video of it, but I can tell you this, I would not want to catch another alligator. And I have found several alligators on the beach. The good news is we did get this thing back and we fed it fish for 2 weeks. It gained weight. It got all its blood levels back to where they needed to be. And we released it up in the Mission River. So good story on that one, but I'll never do that again. Maybe a 3-footer. Okay. I know y'all been waiting for this one. I probably find 20 to 30 dolls a year. I don't know what the deal is, but we find lots of dolls. And there's a lot of different theories about where these things come from. And so I had this guy, I don't know if you've ever heard of John Oliver, but he's a comedian on late night HBO. And he was like, I want to buy all these dolls you've been posting. Like not the actual dolls. He just wanted to buy the pictures because he wanted to do a bit on them. And I was like, no, you know, you just use them. And I had never heard of the guy. I didn't know who he was. And so he was like, okay, well, we're going to interview you about these dolls. I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, okay, where are these dolls coming from? And then I was like, okay, this is my chance. I get to talk science. Finally, I'm going to tell him about the loop current. So I start saying, oh yeah, all these rivers coming out of these different countries. It's like people are using it as trash highways. It gets into the loop current. And he said, shut up. Nobody cares about the loop current. Where is the 4,000-year-old girl that's haunting our nightmares, putting all these dolls out there? We need to burn these dolls. And he went on for 10 minutes about killing and burning all these dolls. And so he said at the very end, he was like, I'll give you $10,000 for all the dolls that you have. And at the time, I had about a dozen dolls in my office. You know, there were so many of them, they were hanging out of a bucket, you know. And I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a pretty good deal. I'll take that offer. And so they sent a courier down from San Antonio to pick all these things up. And the guy obviously had no idea what he was picking up, because when I walked out of my office, the guy's jaw was basically on the floor. And he was in I'll never forget, it was a little white hatchback vehicle that he had a box in there and bubble wrap. And before he said anything, he picked up the doll and he was looking at it and he just started putting each one in bubble wrap and putting them in the box. And he was like, what is the deal with this? You know, he's all, this is an expensive service. He's, I got to drive this back up to San Antonio, get on an airplane and fly these to New York City. And I was like, I don't know, man, some weirdo named John Oliver's buying them for $10,000. And he was like, what? Well, the next week I received a check for $10,000. And I ended up donating that to the Amos Rehabilitation Keep for the sea turtles and birds. So, hey. But anyway, that was my one good deed for the decade, I think. But I actually have found money. Now, sometimes, and this is close to my last slide. I'm going to show you all a map after this. But we find money. I found quite a bit of money in messages in a bottle, because there's supposed to be an etiquette to message in a bottle. You know, you never put your phone number or your email address. It's old school communication. And the money's supposed to pay for postage to your address. You only put your home address. The other thing is you only write in pencil, because pen fades. I can't tell you how many of these messages in a bottle I'll open up. And you can tell something was written on there, but you can't read it because it's all faded out. So there's the etiquette there. I always say don't throw anything in the ocean, but, you know, if you're going to, you've been drinking wine on a cruise or something, you know, you start thinking, you're not thinking straight. I've also found a purse from Haiti. It had jewelry in there. It had a dollar bill, which was 10 gourds, which is the name of their dollars over there. I don't know what the rate is, exchange rate, but I'm sure it's not worth that much. But the big one was this safe right here. I had to dig this out of the high tide line. And when I rolled it over, you could hear something in there. It was like ka-plump, ka-plump. Now, it was too heavy for me to pick up, so my son and my daughter were with me. So we put it in the back of the truck and drive it home. By the time we got home, they had texted all their neighbors and friends and everything. I pull up in the driveway, and all these people are there with sledgehammers and crowbars and like electric saws. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So they sat there and they beat on that thing for an hour. And they ended up getting it to where I could see the package inside of there. So I reach in and grab that thing out and hold it up. And it was a package of silica gel. So it must have been like a brand new safe or something like that. It was the most disappointing thing ever. We ended up making like a 5-minute video on this thing, but I'm pretty sure everyone unsubscribes after watching it. Because there's nothing in the, it's like the Al Capone deal that Geraldo opened up. It's like empty, you know. Okay, so where to go? And so a lot of people take photos of this or whatever if you want, but this is kind of a big general. Now the next slide, I'm going to zoom in to the Coastal Bend area, which gives you a little more information on where to go. But these are just some key areas that I've found that are successful in finding not only shells, but other interesting items that wash up. And that has to do with fewer people going to these areas than, say, some of the other ones you might go to. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here to the Coastal Bend area, and I give a little more detail. So instead of just Mustang Island State Park, north of Fish Pass Jetty, south of Bob Hall Pier. So these are always some good areas to go to if you're in the Coastal Bend area. Okay, so why are we doing all this? Well, we think that educating people about, conservation, about the items washing in, getting them interested in it, that it will ultimately lead to protection. If you don't care about something, why would you want to conserve it or protect it? And so that's what we're doing, is try to get people interested in it. And here, if y'all want to be able to follow us on YouTube, if you don't already, this link will take you there. All of our Facebook and Instagram, all our social media stuff is at Harte Research. So you can find us by just typing in the Harte Research anywhere and be able to find it. Okay, that's it for my presentation. If y'all have got any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. I appreciate y'all having me.
Jace, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and take questions from the audience here first, and then we'll get our virtual questions. So anybody here got a question they'd like to ask Jace?
Yeah.
Going once. How about out in the virtual land? Any questions, John?
Can you just keep talking and tell us some more stuff?
Right.
Yeah. Keep talking and tell us some more stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Keep going, Jace.
Well, I do see a question here. Somebody says, where do the witch bottles originate? In my research, because when I first found these things, I thought that they were actually floats, because I find so many different types of floats that are used to mark traps, like fish traps, crab traps, nets, all that kind of stuff. But there was never any, normally when we find these weird like floats, you would find a little piece of rope that had broken off or something. There was never any of that on there. So that's when I started looking these things up and found out that they were the spell bottles or witch bottles. In the US, the highest concentration of witches is actually in New Orleans. And then I've gone down to Cuba, into Mexico. I've been on several Caribbean islands. Sometimes you will see some different things going on down there. When I was in Cuba, ladies would dress all in white. They would take a doll down to the the shoreline, and they would throw flowers out. They had oil they would put out. I never saw them throw a doll in or anything like that, but they were doing the witch, it could have been the witchcraft type stuff. So, you never know. They could be coming really from anywhere in the world, based on those ocean currents.
Okay, Jimmy,
You have a question from the audience, stand by.
and repeat the question to him. Ask him about the update of the hunger strike. Give a little brief summary on that.
We were at the Texas Plastics Pollution Symposium last week or 2 weeks ago, I can't remember. Anyway, there was a lady that was doing a hunger strike against nurdles and plastic pollution. Can you give us a status on that just for our information?
Yeah, actually, there's news stories that come out about weekly on that, but Diane Wilson is the lady's name. She's a 4th generation shrimper from Seadrift. And there's all these plastic pellets that Dow Chemical has been putting out along the Victoria Barge Canal. And because of that, Diane Wilson was doing a hunger strike. So she set up a tent and her truck right in front of the entrance to the Union Carbide facility that Dow owns, that makes these pellets. And she did a hunger strike for 30 days. On day 26, they arrested her for trying to deliver a message to the CEO. Just by walking up to the front door, they arrested her. But she went to jail for 2 days and got out and went back to the tent and stayed there, for the full 30 days. Then she stopped. She's 78 years old. So, health is a concern when you're doing a hunger strike like that. But they have gotten the attention of the public from all the news media that has come out. And the last I heard, they were trying, the state actually got a lawsuit to sue Dow, but it sounds like the only reason they did that was because Diane Wilson was trying to sue them. And the last time she sued somebody was Formosa, which was about 6 years ago. Formosa had to pay $50 million into a trust, and they committed to zero plastic pellet loss. And Dow Chemical probably didn't want to do that. So they probably went up to the state and asked the state to sue them so that it blocks any other lawsuits from coming up. So the last I heard is that Diane Wilson and her attorneys were trying to get the state lawsuit pushed out and theirs put back in place. But yeah, that's kind of the last I've heard on it. But you can definitely look up San Antonio Bay Waterkeeper on social media, and they post stuff there almost daily about what the status is. That Diane Wilson is the president of that organization.
Thank you, Jace. I have a question for you. I know you've been stung many times, and I'm sure after you invoke that famous Irishman's name, what do you put on your stings to alleviate the pain?
It depends on what stings you. If it's jellyfish that stings you, the typical thing to put on there is vinegar, because that neutralizes the stinging cells so they won't sting anymore. Then you got to make sure all the tentacles are off of you, and then put some water on there, like warm water. And that's what some people use meat tenderizer as well. I haven't found that really helps anything other than mentally it feels like you're doing something.
All right, thank you. John indicated that if you can look on your screen, you should see some questions from the virtual group. Are you able to do that?
Oh, yeah. Okay, here's another one. It says, I've noticed that shells further south along the coast are slightly different colors than those we find here. More pink, for instance. Why would that be? After the shell dies, it's just, being in the environment, especially in the sun, they're going to be, the color is going to go away. Now some shells, depending on what they eat, they could also get some color from that. So it could have something to do with that. But normally you know, your shells should be the same colors. I wouldn't see that there'd be a real significant difference, just depending on when it died. So you might be finding some older ones. You know, you look at over in Florida, like Sanibel Island, some of those islands that there's tons of shells coming up. Just the craziest, wildest things you'd think of, bright colors. But, you know, we find that here too at certain times of the year. So it's probably just, you know, the number of shells that wash up and then the timing of how long they've been out in the environment.
We have one more question from the audience. Jay, stand by.
Hi, Jace. This is Susan Barnes, and this is kind of a frivolous question. Some time ago, John Gates, if any of you are familiar, Destination Truth, did a show about an island south of Mexico City called Isla de las Muertas, which is Island of the Dolls, where there are hundreds of dolls like the ones you have hanging in trees, put up around the island. It's extremely creepy. Video. So I'm just curious if you've heard of that and if you think that could be the source for your beach babies.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's if you watch the most recent doll video that came out, I put that out on Halloween this last year. It goes into the different theories of where they're coming from, but one is the Island of Dolls in Mexico City. You know, there could be some coming from there, but from what I gather of the reason they started the Island of Dolls because of a girl that had passed away and these dolls were washing down the river, they pick those up and then they put them on their, you know, fence, or the guy used to, I don't think the guy's alive anymore, but they used to put them, you know, on the house, in their garden, in the trees, I mean, all over the place. There's actually some crazy video out there of people that have visited the place. You can pay for a tour to get a tour of the place. It is possible that the river that comes from Mexico City is very long and winding. That could be possible. I mean, the most likely situation is that a lot of countries and communities outside of the U.S. use the ocean as their dumping ground. They use rivers as their dumping ground. I don't know if you've traveled in Central and South America. Sometimes at the end of their block, they're just piling up trash and they might pick it up twice a year. And so if they get a heavy rain, all that's just going into the stormwater or nearest creek and then, you know, in the rivers and then getting out into the ocean and ocean currents. Think about that Category 4 that went over Jamaica this last summer. You know, we're probably going to get a big slug of stuff washing in from there. But just all that stuff over time, dolls float. So dolls are going to be the ones that are at the surface. And so that's why we find so many washed up. That's kind of my theory on it. But it is possible that some come from that Mexico City Island of Dolls. But I doubt that that's the majority of them.
Thank you, Jay. We have another question that's starting to pop up, so hang on.
This is an easy one. Hi, Jace, it's Angela Griffin. And my question is, I was wondering if you ever ran across Indian artifacts like arrowheads or anything else.
Yeah, and the only one that I know of that was for sure an artifact was in Sargent Beach. Yeah, it was an arrowhead. It's probably about 3 inches long. And I was walking along the beach looking at the shells down there, and it was right in the pack. Of course, that's the highest rate of erosion on that beach. So, you know, you go back to the 1960s or something, and it was hundreds of feet out from where it is currently. And I used to surf at that beach for about a decade. And there was only one spot I would go in because I was worried about hitting people's pilings from their homes whenever they, you know, that used to be land. And I'd always heard there was a Jeep out there too. But because of the high rate of erosion, you know, it can expose a lot of stuff out there. But yeah, that's the only beach I found an artifact on. And I'll say it's an artifact on a Gulf facing beach. Now I found a lot of artifacts up in bays and, you know, estuaries and stuff like that, which I I always leave there. I'm not one to take any of that stuff, but I have found quite a few shell middens and things like that.
Any more questions from the audience? Going once, going twice? Jace, thank you so much for an informative and.
Okay, well, y'all, thanks for having me, and talk to y'all later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, this is our financial report courtesy of Amanda. Our beginning balance is $11,648. Our revenue summary is $509.39. Our expense summary is $1,250. Our ending balance is $11,199.02. Anybody got any questions or comments or attitudes or takeaways on this? Moving right along.
Pay your dues. Now, pay your dues.
What's Okay, this is the business slide. I never really understood this one, but that's just me. Right here. Volunteer opportunities, Lauren, you gotta come up here and talk about these.
Just a couple of things.
Good luck.
Good luck, Yeah, just a couple of things, see, well, I'll jump down to the construction projects, several of us started on, reworking the boardwalk at the Discovery Center. We started on Monday and yesterday. Got the top peeled off of all the, boardwalk so we can look at the substructure. Anybody cares to join in? Obviously, we're not working on it today, but we'll be back in the morning. There'll be a lot of dirt work, a lot of shovel work. We got Robin Townsend's out there with us. Got his tractor, so we're pulling out earthen material so we can get our stringers put in. But again, we'll be back on it again tomorrow, and a lot of saw cutting, dirt moving, drilling, and that's screwing the boards in and all that sort of just typical boardwalk work. We want to let everybody know that that's going on. We start at 7:30 in the morning or whenever you can get there. Also on the Yellow-Legged Hornet project, Amanda Gabor, she's not here, is she?
No, she wasn't feeling well.
Okay.
She has 2 traps that she wanted to have me hand out to you, but couldn't find them.
Well,
I can believe you.
okay, she had texted me that she had 3, but 2's fine.
She wants to participate.
Okay,
So it sounds like we got 2 more traps that can be deployed, so whenever those traps become available, I know I got several names of people that were interested in participating in the project. Once I have the traps, I can get a hold of it to see who might still be interested, to set those traps out. Basically, that's setting them out, checking them at least every couple of weeks, and within that 2-week period, probably be time to change the bait out again. Make your own bait, it's basically brown sugar and water. But from what I understand, it's pretty nasty after a couple of weeks, plus whatever's in the traps. So I'm sure they need to be cleaned out. Let's see, Beach Week will be May 4th.
Larry's gonna be on 16th Street.
Actually, that's from 16th Street on the calendar.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Now let's see, Angela, on the Bio Blitz, let's see, Carolina's Nature Challenge. Now, is that the full month and you were keying in on 1 week?
It goes through the whole month, so if you put that in your phone now to join the project, anytime you go out there during the daytime, it will go into iNaturalist.
Right.
And then we have a black mothing event on, not this Friday, but the next Friday, the 17th.
Right, and that's on the calendar.
Yes, so, if you have any questions about that, you can also join that now, if you like, just join the project, it will all go.
Okay. Let's see, is there anything on the next slide, Jimmy?
Then there's City Nature Challenge too. City Nature Challenge is the week of migration celebration, so y'all can take, pictures during, while you're working, while you're going to the mailbox, anytime.
Only if you're working outside.
Yes.
We don't want people to leave their stations to go.
On your way to the bathroom during migration celebration. So
We take our volunteers.
yeah, take pictures of everything you see that weekend. Okay.
But for the mothing event, if you've been to the Dolores Fenwick Nature Center, it's right across the street, and you can park it,
Yes.
and see, right?
Restrooms are available. You can bring snacks. You can bring your grandchildren, friends, neighbors. It'll be a great time. And they're also having some monitors to find if there's any bats coming over in that area. So we'll be monitoring some bats a little bit according to the
Okay.
Carolina.
Okay, yeah, there was the Bio Blitz I was talking about and the mothing event. And then also on the Dolores Fenwick Nature Center work days for this month. It's normally the 3rd Saturday and the previous Thursday. There was a conflict on the 3rd Saturday. So for this month, it'll be April the 11th and then the following Thursday. So it's not flip-flopping the Thursdays and the Saturdays, but again, that's correct on the volunteer calendar. That's about all I have.
Anybody got any questions? Oren? Thank you, Oren.
You're doing an excellent job, Jimmy.
Thank you. I have something good to follow. All right. The April Bio Blitz event, City of Carolina, anybody want to come and speak to that?
That's one end. That's what we were just talking about.
Okay, come on up.
You didn't hear it?
He's looking confused.
He was doing a good job.
Okay,
You
guys.
got
I
20
just want to make sure that you got this down. You can take a little QR code in your phone. It'll take you right to the project in iNaturalist. So it's real easy to join. And I really hope to see you guys there. It will be a lot of fun. We had a great time. Some of my friends that you may have met before from the Gulf Coast chapter, Mary and Rich, and maybe some other people will be there helping with the setups with the black lights and answering any questions. They're really good about critters. So you can learn a lot and get your volunteer service time as well. But thanks.
Good job.
Thank you, Angela. Mr. Ruby? You on that?
Hi. Works, okay. We've had some problems the last, about 6 weeks or so of communicating. Closer. Which I thought was my fault.
There you go.
That and AT&T. For example, One person sent me 3 times asking for information. I sent back information 3 times. I still haven't gotten it.
Wow. Oh, man.
I found out when our TV died along with this, because it's with AT&T also, that our system all around, especially this area right here, is a mess where they're digging lines underneath. And so I apologize for all the confusion. But also that means that this is the time of the year where we especially need a lot of volunteers volunteering in, not answering questions. So if you be patient, if you want, if I just shouldn't reply within, you send me something and you're expecting a reply. If you don't hear from me 48 hours or less, contacting's on their way. Something I can do right now. They think they have fixed it, but I'm not betting on it. So I'm sorry, that's the best I can do. But please just be patient with me. Can't do it by text, find another way. You can hand me one way for put it behind me. Of course, this is when we have whole bunches of things that we're doing. And the biggie coming up is the summer reading at the library system. The easiest way to volunteer is, I'm going to use Pam as an example. She went over there, she got the list over there. Circle the ones that she would like to participate with, wrote her name at the top, hand it to me. You also can email, text, call. This says phone signals if you want to. Wait, you can contact me. Just know that if I don't answer back right away, that somehow we're not communicating. Is that making sense to anybody? So, over there, what I would do, circle what you know. Take those copy home for yourself. Leave a copy with me. Does that work? Try. We also have up here, let's see, D. Have 1, 2, 3, 4 coming up in April. And Lee will contact you on that. Sea Center, Texas, Nature Day. We always participate. That's lots of fun. DCBO Spring Fling. Migration Celebrations, the other great big event. You didn't think I'd forget to do that one, did you? I'm sure that there's still some openings for volunteers there. And Nature Camp. I don't know a thing about Nature Camp to give you information. I know it's going to happen, and I know they're excited about it. They still can make some changes. But between now and then, we'll talk about it again. Any questions that I might be able to answer? Oh, I was supposed to give you the answer to her questions. Patty is the one who contacted me 3 times and then the other time.
You meant, I just looked back at my text. I texted you once and I messaged Lena once. So maybe it came to you more than one time.
I think that's what's happened sometimes.
It's like repeating itself.
I found out that they also with text that had come in as email, then it was just, it's all very confusing. But I can give you some numbers.
I'm gonna borrow your pen. Okay.
The overall number, the total, we set a record that I'm really proud of for all you hard workers. 1,893 visitors came.
Wow.
We were busy.
And that's youth and adult together?
Yes,
Okay.
the adults had 962 and the youth was 931. And it is pretty usual to have maybe very close together with adults a little bit more. But we have adults that come out there without children.
I'm sorry, you said there were 900 adults and 900 kids.
Yeah, be sure to give you the right numbers. The adults, 962. And youth, 931, for a total of 1893.
1890.
Oh, I thought you said 8193. 8,000, okay.
1,893.
I heard 8,000.
I'm not going to say anything.
1,893, but that sounds more like it. Okay.
It was a lot of fun. And thank you all for doing so much. That's a lot of work on your part. And we have a lot of work coming up. I appreciate it ahead of time for doing this. Any questions? Go ahead.
Thank you, Ruby. Barbara, would you like to come up and talk a little bit about migration celebration, maybe some gaps that we need to fill and we'll guilt the people and volunteers? Like they did me.
Okay, so, we still have quite a few spots that are open. I emailed everybody on the chapter yesterday, and I gave the link to sign up, and I also gave a list of what areas were open, and some of them are very critical. I didn't check the link this morning to see that all of you have signed up and filled those spots yet, but I hope when I go home, that's what I find. But if you have any questions, if you have not seen the email or you don't have it, check your junk mail just in case. And you can contact me. I have a list with me today if anybody wants to see me after, if you see what's open. But you know, we can't do this without all your help, and I do realize it's a lot of work. And we do appreciate every one of you for your help. And for those of you that have already signed up, thank you, appreciate it. And hope to see more of you. If you have any questions, just see me. Thank you.
And also cobbler bakers.
Oh, you need cobbler bakers? Okay, so who's in charge? You're in charge of that.
Yeah, come on, if somebody can bake a couple of cobblers or even one cobbler.
So, you know, for our takeout dinner on the 18th, we serve cobblers along with the dinner as your dessert. And so Mary is Regina's in charge of that. And you need how many more cobbler
I
bakers?
just need one or two bakers.
She just needs one or two
I need
more
two
bakers.
cobblers. Plus we need cookies.
And cookies, we need cookies for the bake sale during Migration Celebration.
Yeah.
So you can check with that, maybe she'll take that information too.
I think the cobbler number went from needing, 16 or?
Yeah, because we had so many
Up to
people,
20 now.
right? We had so many people sign up for the dinner that now we need more cobblers. And basically, Regina will give you all the supplies you need and with instructions, and you just need to put it all together and throw it in the oven. And then
Bring it to us Saturday morning.
and bring it Saturday morning
Jackson.
to Lake Jackson.
And if a little bit of brandy doesn't make it into the cobbler.
We will be testing every piece, make sure that range.
I got a question for you, Barbara.
Yes.
Are we gonna have any insect cookies?
Oh, well, I don't know. Will we, Patty?
Maybe some dragonfly?
This year too, you know, with the City Nature Challenge, for any of you that are like really excited about that, we have 2 openings on Saturday and 2 openings on Sunday. Nobody has signed up to do the terrestrial bug sweeping at Migration Celebration. And this year it's going to be in a different area. It's going to be behind the information booth. So I think we're going to have an opportunity to see a lot more different things. So this is your opportunity. You have all day to take pictures of what you catch. So you can probably even beat Angela.
There you go.
But anyway, that's, you know, that is one of the areas we need a lot of help. And Marty needs a lot of help in the information booth, especially on Sunday. He needs 4 more people. He can't do it without 6 because of all the information they take from the visitors. So if you have any questions, come see me.
Thank you, Barbara. Any questions from the floor? Any ideas, any speakers you'd like to hear? Figures that you hear are ones that y'all tell me you want to hear, so I'm just a mechanism to make it happen, so. Anyway, I appreciate all y'all. Christine, is Christine online?
Yes.
She is.
That needs to be changed to VS. At the top.
Correct.
One and one.
One and one. This is one and one.
1 hour.
Let's try.
Our next meeting is May 13th, 2026. It'll be an evening meeting with social, time at 5:30. Bring a friend and hope to see you there.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Any motion to adjourn?